Welcome, and one and all, to episode 4 of the Into the Paranormal podcast. I'm here, Corey Beam, with my co-host and my see, look at that, cohort, and all things paranormal,
Cohort
Kevin
words.
Leonard. Words are hard. That's why we had to take a week off. But thank you for joining us. We're going to look into the creepy, the unexplained, and the sometimes strange. Welcome to the Into the Paranormal podcast. And as always, Into the Paranormal is brought to you by Kappa. Kevin, why don't you let us know everything we need to know about Kappa?
Kappa Paranormal, the Coastal Atlantic Paranormal Association, is a paranormal research team. We cover the southeastern side of the United States, or really wherever we are called within reason. Regardless where you live, our Facebook page and website is always available for all of your paranormal needs. If you feel your home, business, or whatever is haunted, or you're experiencing things you can't explain, just reach out at www.kappaparanormal.com or Facebook/Kappa Paranormal and send us a message or a help request, and we can help you out.
Wonderful. And Kappa's always happy to help. And
We're here to help.
Here to help. You know, we bumped back and stuff, as you said in the last episode. No, happened to be back. I know we took a week off. I think our lives kind of got a little hectic.
Yeah.
But
Still hectic, but
things don't
we
calm
are
down.
back. We have persevered and we are pushing through.
We persevered, or did we
persevere?
Words are still hard, guys.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about what we are going to talk about today, because I think everyone likes a good ghost story, or in our, I guess it's more so a paranormal experience, but we'll call them ghost stories for the sake of popularity.
Yeah.
Just things that we've experienced and some of our best experiences through the years while we've investigated the paranormal. And I know I look forward to it because we've had a lot of good experiences with Kappa and outside of Kappa as well. And should be interesting.
Yeah.
So I know, Kevin, where do you want to start? I have some ideas of some stories, but where would you like to start?
Okay. I guess I'll start at the very first possibly paranormal experience I can remember having. Um, I don't remember if I touched on it in our very first episode when we discussed like our beginnings or whatnot, but I was 15, 16 or whatnot. And I remember a buddy of mine was at my house, and like I said, I was 15, 16, possibly even younger. Uh, and we had school the next day. So we were hanging out at home, at my house playing video games or whatnot. And so it was getting late, and I was going to walk him to his house or whatnot. And so we're walking past, I used to live in a trailer park, and he was like 4 houses down from me. And so we're walking to his house, and all of a sudden we just saw some lights in the sky, and not like your typical, there's lights in the sky moving erratically. What is that? It was more so uh cylinder, and there was a red light on the very top and then a red light on the bottom, and it was just kind of in the air. I'm trying to get my hand on the screen, like this, going in like a circular motion, but very, very slowly. And it was right above the tree line. And so we just stopped in our tracks and we're looking at it. And I'm like, hey, tell me you see this. And he's like, yeah. And we're like, well, what is this? What is that? We were just kind of frozen right there. We didn't go and tell our parents or anything. We were just kind of like staring at it. And it seemed to just like descend into the trees. So at that point, we couldn't see it anymore, and he took off toward his house, and I ran home. the next day after school, because like I said, I was super into X-Files at the time and wanted to be Agent Mulder. So he was into it too, and we went into the woods, and I couldn't tell you how far this thing was. I would say about a football field away, so it was relatively close. It made no sound at all. It was just in the air. But we went back there and there was these like sand dunes on the other side of the trees where it possibly could have been over. No evidence of anything landing there, no footsteps that or footprints that we couldn't explain. It was just like it never existed. To this day, I have no idea what it was, but it did help fuel my interest, as if it really needed fueling. I was head over heels into the paranormal, but it definitely was something that I'll never forget. Can't explain it. No clue what it was.
Yeah.
And I've never heard of anybody uh, describing a UFO or anything that shape too. It's what kind of threw me off, like even to this day. Something like cylinder, like just straight, slender and long.
It's interesting. I mean, I heard, you have, you see in texts and stuff, people talk about the cylindrical, like cigar shape
Hmm.
that people see, but usually it's a saucer, it's a
Right. Usually
triangle,
they're
or
they're long ways, right?
yeah, not what would that be? Vertical?
Horizontal,
Yeah.
vertical.
You
Yeah.
saw, yeah. Time to go back to school. Um, no, but I mean that's an interesting experience, and I remember you kind of touched on that in the first episode, but didn't go into too much detail. See, that's a pretty neat story. My first story, the first thing that I can remember happening that was weird that I think of, and it didn't really fuel my interest. But I think about it was waking up. I don't know what time it was. I can't even remember quite how old I was. I think I was in middle school, and I woke up, and the first thing I did was look at my door, and there was a dark shadow in the shape of a person. Um, it was there for a split second. Was not there long at all. Um, and I kind of, blinking. Did I actually see that? Now, I don't know if I actually saw anything. I don't know if it was paranormal whatsoever, but it sticks out as the first thing that ever happened. Um,
Mhm.
or the first thing that I could think of that I wasn't sure how to explain it. Um, I did. I think it was just a few years later when I started taking off into the cemetery every day. I used to always say that I felt more alive around the dead. I, but I think it still rings true. I still have that feeling. But I saw and watched, and this is a 14-year-old me, um, a scratch form on my friend's arm. I
Mhm.
saw it get redder and redder, and it just started bleeding as it was getting
Wow.
made. Um, I, I could wrap my head around it. Um, and the freaky part is the cemetery is in the middle of the. It's not now. They have a lot of housing that's built around it. But back then it was the middle of the woods. It's quiet. It's eerie, and I'm watching someone get scratched and saying the Lord's Prayer, which I mean to me I didn't mean much. But we did, and we got out of there, and I remember I had a headset just kind of like the one I have on, and there was a whisper. caught in the audio like 10 minutes before the scratch happened that says there are bad things at work here.
Wow.
And I wish I had that audio. I haven't had it for years. I mean, I'm 30, that was 16 years ago. Oh my.
Yeah. Oh man, I wish I had some of the audio I used to have from
Yeah.
investigations or whatnot.
So I mean
Yeah.
that's probably the craziest experience that I'm pretty sure was. I mean, it is paranormal. Scratchers don't just happen on
Right.
people. I saw that happen. That's the first thing that I can identify as paranormal. I remember the day. That was November 30th, 2007. I still remember the date that that happened. But yeah, that was pretty frightening. Um, to me at least.
Yeah.
What
No,
you
I
know,
mean
what during the years that we've been investigating, what would you say is your favorite experience that you've had that involved an investigation with Kappa in the last 10 years? Actually, no,
uh
we'll go with all of them, whatever.
well, you already know, to be honest. I mean, when we're as a paranormal investigator, what is your holy grail?
Yeah,
It's a full body apparition. And when we were on the USS North Carolina, the entire team was accounted for and present behind me, minus Kathy, who was in another room to the left. She was down in the engine room, and I saw what looked like a full person, like an actual human being, live flesh, everything, walking, toward where the room she was in, walking toward her basically. And I'm probably, what would you say, 15 feet from it.
at the
And
most.
yeah, and I turn around. Well, even at that point, before I even turned around and asked for the flashlight, it took off the other way. It didn't make a sound, at all. It was just kind of walking and then went backwards, really. It just kind of took off the other way. I asked for a flashlight. Tracy's like, I don't have a flashlight on me. And I took off after it because I thought it was an actual person that was trespassing on the ship. And we ran straight down the ship to a dead end, basically. The only way out of the room that we ran to was upstairs that were 85-degree angles. And
Yeah,
there's no way it was going to speed up those stairs, especially go up the stairs not making a sound.
I remember being back in. Now this happened in the mess hall, and if you guys,
You can actually go
it's
to the Facebook and watch the high speed chase.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's all on. All on. Luckily, we were alive on Facebook at the time, and it was
Yeah.
perfect timing for that to happen. Um,
And I kick myself every day for not wearing my GoPro. I usually have a GoPro that's like strapped to my chest that gives me a POV shot. And if I had my GoPro on, but yeah, that was a personal experience. Obviously, we can't use that as evidence because it's just a personal experience.
right.
But
It's a
you know,
heck of a personal experience, though.
right.
I mean,
And
I don't, okay,
after the investigation, we were back at the Airbnb, and when Molly, our case manager, was going through the deceased from the impact, she showed me a picture, and it was like I got goosebumps. I was like, that's who I saw. Like I could
I,
pick him
re
out of a lineup.
I
Maybe not right this
remember
second, but yeah, when I
the.
saw him, it was that fresh, and I was like, that's the guy. I saw him.
I think so that was a cool thing. I remember the look on your face when you
Yeah,
saw that picture, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, that's who I saw." And
yeah.
for people that don't know, um, because you said something about an impact. If you guys don't know the history of the battleship North Carolina, there was a torpedo impact um, in World War II, and Gosh, was it 10? I don't, I think 10
Four
people in total
four
had passed,
people.
but four
Yeah,
in
four
that.
people, I think, because it hit in the bathroom area or the shower room. And four people, I believe, were killed then, and um I think two people on the deck. One got washed overboard, and I think one was hit with shrapnel.
Right. I
There
think
may
there
have been
was,
more that died on land or something, just died of their injuries. But all I can remember was the four in the shower room and the two on deck. There may have been more.
and mine, I think mine is going to be from the battleship as well. Um, I was down in the engine room. It's about 5 in the morning, and well, we had Molly and Tracy were with me, and uh, we were looking. Uh, I guess there was an exit sign that kind of gave a reddish hue in the area that we were looking on the other side of the engine room, where there was almost like a hallway that led to I don't even call them stairs. I'm just gonna call them ladders.
Basically what they were, yeah.
That gets you up
Reinforced ladders.
basically. And I had all of a sudden I saw a black mass just pass within that red. And I'm thinking, okay, I got to be seeing things. Like I didn't just see that. I did mention it. Said, oh, I thought I swear I just saw, and there wasn't really much shape to it. It was just a blob that moved. So Molly, I said, Molly, we'll just look this way and see if you see it. And at the same time, you actually hear in our audio recording
Hmm.
my um my voice. I'm like, whoa, whoa, because I see it again, but this time you can make out head, shoulders. Uh,
Knees and toes.
well, you could make out this humanoid person that walked down this hallway, walked out and walked in the hallway. And luckily, Molly, I didn't even say anything. I just reacted and said, whoa. And she's like, oh, I saw that too. And we were able
Hmm.
to describe the exact same thing. And Tracy was looking a different direction and she was like, oh, come on. And finally, it happened again. And she was able to see that. So all of us seeing this humanoid shadow walking around in the dark with us in this, what isn't a big space. Oh, the engine room wasn't extremely large, at least that portion of it that we had access to. For us to see that 20 feet away and then to have other things happen, we had what sounded like a valve turning and
Hmm.
squeaking. There were noises below us um, that we couldn't, like pipes rolling. All kinds of things were happening, and to have the experience with them, and for them to all see the same
Verify it. Yeah, validate.
that was great because the dark and being in the dark can absolutely play tricks on your eyes.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
not going to play tricks on three people. I
Three.
mean,
Right.
it's something was there, um, and this is the same room when you went after Kathy, who's another investigator with Kappa. You went after Kathy to see where she went, and that's when you saw your apparition. She was heading towards the engine room because she was following what she thought was a person, ended up being another shadowy form.
Right.
So
Yeah,
something
because she saw a shadow walk that way, but she didn't tell us. She just, chased after it slowly, not chased it
she
like I
didn't
did.
run
But
right.
yeah,
She
I took
was
off. But
uh,
yeah, she, just saw a shadow go toward the engine room, and she said, "Well, what in the world is that?" and got up and walked away. Which is not something we normally do. We normally don't split off. But yeah, she just got up and walked toward the shadow, and then long enough for her to realize, like, hey, what am I doing? Why am I
I,
chasing this shadow into
you,
the dark?
you could
And
actually
that's
see
when,
her reaction uh,
yeah, on the video.
on the video on the Facebook. I can't remember exactly what she says, but she said something about being gone long enough to scare herself, and
Yeah,
because she didn't realize how far she'd gone walking, following the figure.
yeah, yeah. Because when she was coming back, she was flashing her flashlight, and that's what got my attention to get up to go see what is she doing. And when I was walking through the kitchen is when I had my experience.
Right. Yep. And it all it circles around. Um,
Hmm.
and
And that was
as
the beautiful thing about the battleship because everyone, like you said, had their own experiences.
and not even just experiences, we all had visual experiences,
Yeah.
which is
Hmm.
rare. Um,
Yeah.
that does not happen often.
No,
And I mean, it was a great time.
I
Luckily,
can't wait to go back.
I cannot wait. It's going to be amazing. I one I love the area anyway. Like Wilmington's
Hmm.
just it's a really nice area. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I'm
but
biased to North Carolina anyway.
sure,
North
sure.
Carolina's
I mean,
home.
I listen. The two places that I've taken trips now to North Carolina, with Kappa being Eatonton and Wilmington, and I fell in love with both places. Um,
Hmm.
so
Speaking of Edenton, that reminds me of a few more experiences
oh
of
sure,
ghost stories. Um, so when Kappa was still in its fledgling stages, I believe it was the second time that we had investigated the Chihuahua County Jail and jailer's house. Um, So this was a whole different team. I had different investigators then. This is back when CAPA was the Carolina Association of Paranormal Activity. So it was, like I said, the very beginning of CAPA. And so we're investigating the jail and jailer's house. I had split the team. There was six of us there. I had split the team in half. Three of us were in the jailer's house, while my tech manager, two other investigators were in the jail. And so myself, case manager Matt, and Lisa, an investigator, were in the house part. We were upstairs, and when you go up the stairs in the jailer's house, I'll try to paint a visual for you. When you go up the stairs, there's a landing to the left, and there's two rooms, and it wraps around to another room. So we're on the landing between the two rooms on the top of the stairs, and there's a window right here facing the stairs or facing the landing. I'm sorry. We're sitting on the floor, just asking questions, trying to get any sort of response. And back then, the city had used it as office space. So in the room to my right, there were whiteboards and desks and whatnot. And I'm sitting on the floor and I'm just kind of looking off in this direction, just reading the stuff that's on the whiteboard. It was like city planning or whatnot. And I just started getting really, really tired. It felt like I had zero energy. I remember like even like kind of leaning against the wall toward the floor. And just like that, I was back to normal. I was fine. And we were trying to do a little bit of provoking, you know, which, I don't do nowadays. But everybody, does different things when they first start out. And what we were doing wasn't, anything bad. It wasn't derogatory. We were just trying to, you know, say things that would trigger a response. And what we were doing, Matt, case manager, was on the walkie talking to Sterling, my tech manager, and he was asking if they were getting any activity over there, and they said no, it's quiet. And they're like, okay. So, and Matt was, I'm with the jailer now, so if the spirits over there don't start cooperating, um, I forgot what he said. He's going to do something and basically tick him off. Um, and I remember Sterling saying, "Hey, I'm just gonna let him out. If the jailers over there, the family over there doesn't do anything for you guys, we're gonna let all the prisoners out." And he was like, "Just give me the word. We'll give them 5 minutes or something, and if nothing happens, I'm just gonna open all the doors to the cells and let everybody out." So, long story short, we're sitting up there, 5, 10 minutes goes by, it's still quiet, but Lisa was sitting beside me. Matt was sitting across from us up against the stair railing, but Lisa just starts rocking back like this, like back and forth. And I don't think anything of it at first, but I'm watching her, and then I look over at Matt, and I'm like, "Hey, you see her?" And he's eye to eye with her, like, just looking at her, like, "What are you doing?" But Lisa's just quiet. She wasn't asking questions, and then she started getting quiet. She wasn't saying anything. She just started rocking back and forth, and then she started doing it like harder, like hitting the window. And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, she's about to go out this window. We need to take a break for a minute. Maybe she's like uncomfortable and trying to like work her back out, or I don't know, maybe like her legs are falling asleep. I don't know what's happening. So I'm like, hey, let's go ahead and take 15, get the rest of the guys in the house, and let's just grab a drink and chill out for a few minutes. And he's like, all right, sounds good. So we rally the team in, go downstairs to command, and we were sitting down just talking about, our game plan. We were going to split up, and well, the team that was in the jail was going to investigate the house, and we were going to go out to the jail. So we were down there not even 5 minutes, and Lisa's sitting on a cooler beside me, and she just gets up. Y'all ready to go? And I'm like, what do you mean? It's still early. To the jail. Y'all ready? I'm ready to investigate. Let's go. And we're like, um, okay, if everybody else is ready, I mean, I guess we can, just call it a five and go. And Matt's putting batteries, he's changing his batteries out, and she just gets up and walks out of the house. So I walk out of the house behind her, and the jail is 15 feet, 10 maybe. It's very close to the jailer's house. Like, this is early 1900s, early 1800s jail, early 1900s house. So this is back when the jail and the jailer's house were sometimes connected, or at least mere feet from each other. So she gets up, goes out. I follow her. She just walks to the entrance of the jail. You go through the wall of the jail, and then there's like a huge wooden door that goes to the jail itself. And she walks and she goes to the right. And I'm like, okay, because Lisa's not the type to go anywhere by herself. She comes back like 30 seconds later, looks at me. She's holding a flashlight, and it was one of the flashlights you have to click in the back, but she's holding it like this, where the clicker is back here, and she's holding where the bulb is by her thumb or whatnot, but she's holding it down by her side, and she's looking at me, and I don't know where this voice came from. It was Lisa's, but not Lisa's. It was just kind of like deeper version of hers, and she just looks at me. Don't you want to see what's inside? Flashlight starts flashing. No clicks, because it's the one you click, click, to turn on the flashlight. There's no clicking. The flashlight just starts flashing in her hands. And she turns around and walks back into the jail. And I'm thinking to myself, not particularly right this second. I don't want to see what's inside. So I'm on the walkie. Hey, Matt, something's wrong with Lisa. Get everybody out here now. Seconds later, everybody's pouring out of the jailer's house, the front door. What's going on? What's going on? I was like, I don't know. She looked at me, said some crazy stuff, and flashlights flashing in her hand. She went to jail by herself. And the only way to get to the top floor of the jail was outside of the jail. You have to go up the stairs. So she's inside the lower level of the jail, and it's very, very small. So we go into the jail, split. Half of us go this way to wrap around the jail, while a couple of us are looking in the cells for it. She's not in the jail at all. So I come back outside, me and Matt, and we go around the jail. We split and go around. I go around the, I guess if your back is to the jail, to the left side, and she's outside of the jail. Don't know how she got out there, but she's outside of the jail, inside the shrubbery. Like they had bushes all around the jail at this point, and she's inside the bushes, just doing like this, going, get him off me, and like bawling her eyes out, crying. Uh, don't have an explanation. Let them know that where she is, we found her. So everybody comes over there. We get her out of the shrubs and bring her to the jailer's house, and we're setting her down, and she's hysterical. She thought we were still upstairs in the jailer's house, so she had no recollection of leaving the top floor of the jailer's house and going into the jail. No break time, nothing. The last thing she remembers, we were asking questions, sitting on the floor. And next thing she knows, she's outside by herself. I don't know what she was trying to get off of her, you know. I don't like to use the word possession, and I am no way trying to say that that's what happened, but that is the closest thing that I have seen to something that could possibly be classified as that. But I know that she quit investigating after that. She would not go to another investigation, wanted nothing to do with anything paranormal after that. But that was creepy, and like I said, that was back when we were in our early stages. So I'd never seen anything like that before. That was a pretty long-winded story, but
No,
there
it's
was a
a
lot of
good one.
details into it.
Luckily I've heard that story a few times. That's one of the
You've
first
been to the
stories.
jail.
I've been to that jail. I've had my own experiences in that jail. My as you know, this is probably the third podcast I've said it on, and this is only number four. That my favorite piece of evidence was caught at that jailer's house.
Hmm.
So I, that place is very much active, and uh, it has a sense of uh,
The location has its own sense of being. It
yeah, that's a good
if
way to
you
put it.
Yeah, if you've ever felt like a location or a building you were in had its own emotions and thoughts, that might sound crazy to some of you, but that is exactly how the jail and the jailer's house seems. It seems like you're you're talking to a person. If that makes any sense, it's crazy, but the jail and the jailer's house has its own life. It's its own being. And I don't think I've ever experienced a location like that. I mean, yeah, you get feelings sometimes like, oh, this place is kind of, gives me the, certain vibes or whatever. But the jail and the jailer's house is different. It's got its own life force within it.
Yeah, yeah, that's the only way uh, to explain it. It has another um, a whole nother level of feeling, and some of that
Mhm.
feeling is dark. Um,
Yeah.
there's a
And
there's a darkness to it.
right. And that's another thing. They're polar opposites of each other. The jail, I I don't like to say things are evil. Um, I don't believe there's anything demonic there. I don't necessarily even believe in demonic hauntings. Um, but the jail is definitely darker than the house. Um, Several of my stories, will come from the jail and the jailer's house. They're very, very active. Um, but the jail definitely has a malevolent feeling to it. And if you are the type that goes in and provokes or likes to test your luck with the spirits, the jail is not the place to do that. I
You know,
know firsthand. seen things happen. Um, the inside the jail, Jonathan, the co-founder of Kappa, um, what year was it? I don't remember the year, maybe 2018. We were investigating and we were inside the jail, and this was Jonathan's first investigation back with Kappa in about 10 years. And uh we were inside the jail together. We were investigating, asking questions, and at this point, like I've been investigating 10 years at this point or more, and my style has changed. I've learned. Like I said, we always learn in this field. So I've changed some things. I don't I don't provoke to the point where I'm disrespectful or anything like that. Provoking to me would be something like um just trying to get things to react. I can't think of something right off the top of my head that, would be a thing I would say. But, Jonathan was provoking pretty bad. I'm like, hey, chill out, bro. But he was like, I don't believe you're gonna do anything. I don't believe you're really here and stuff like that. He was like, hey, I remember him saying, I'm gonna go to every cell and take all the mattresses and put them on my bed. I run this jail now. And after he just kept going and going, and he felt something like grab his arm, like right here, and I could see him tense up, like he like kind of stood straight up or whatnot, and his voice started cracking, but he continued. He was like, "Is that the best you got? Come on, do something!" And he literally went up against the bars behind him and came up more, and I thought he was going to throw up. He just started like gagging and gasping, and that for 3 or 4 seconds, and then he just bolted past me. He said move, and like rushed past me, ran out of the jail and into the jailer's house. And I grabbed my recorder, follow him in, because I thought he was just going to run outside and like be sick, but he ran straight to the jailer's house to command, and like was couldn't breathe. He was completely red, like he was literally being choked. His eyes were bloodshot, watery, and he couldn't catch his breath. And after he did, he was like, it felt like something just grabbed my throat and pushed me back, like just threw me back and just like started choking me. And but it was almost like it went through his chest and started choking him, like choking him from the inside, if that makes any sense. Um, and so that, I mean, I physically saw this. And the next time we actually went there, so it was I don't remember if it was in August when we went back. Um, when did you come with us? That was June the next year, and we did the
Yeah,
Barker House. So
yeah.
it was the next year. Corey, I believe, was actually with me. Were you with me when we were talking to Mike and he was telling us how he spoke to the jailer's daughter?
That was the time before.
Okay, so
I
then
remember where it was
when we
at.
went back, it was August. So June was the time the experience happened. August of the same year, we went back to investigate, and we met with Mike, the director of the Historical Society, and he was like, "I got some information for you guys." I spoke with the daughter of the last jailer before the jail closed down, and she didn't have a whole lot, but she did say that there was a Marine that went AWOL and he was kept in the jail, and he committed suicide. He hung himself. And guess what cell that he did this in? The same exact cell that Jonathan had his experience. And Mike knew nothing about this at all. Uh, and it was crazy because in that same cell is when we had the SLS, and a figure formed in the doorway, and it like bent its neck over and just started like flailing his arms. I The SLS is funny because it can easily pick up false positives, but when the stories that you're hearing or research that you do and can prove things that happened in the past, and then they correlate with things that you had no idea at the time of getting this evidence. To me, it was crazy. It was strange. Like it almost looked as if someone was hanging in the doorway.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
it's amazing when these two things can kind of come together. Like I said, uh, Mike knew nothing about the what happened, and he told us, and I just remember my jaw dropped. I was like, "Wow, okay."
it's quite. I mean, to have an experience like that and then have it correlate and
Hmm.
have something. Now, I think I'm with you on the whole SLS. I'm not 100% sure on the validity of these things, but I mean, it's an
The
interesting.
SLS, any of this, yeah, any of the equipment like that, I take it with a heart-wrenching amount of salt. It has to make sense, and
Yeah,
everything has to add up,
right, right,
regardless if it's a spirit box or an SLS or a K2. Um, but it was just too coincidental, how looking at the SLS and you see this stick figure right in front of you, and it just gets higher, and neck folds over, and it just starts doing this. I know you can't
right,
see me on screen, but waving its arms back and forth like it's struggling, and then it just goes away. And
right,
then the next time we go, uh, we get this information. We're like, oh my God, okay. And we're like, where did this happen? Right in that cell.
right. It's absolutely um, a good experience because you have um, varying. So you have the experience itself, you have corroborating information, and then you have something that may or may not be getting picked up on a piece of equipment that
Right.
So you got really three pretty decent um, avenues
Validations.
there. Right,
Hmm.
exactly. It's a decent combination. Um, and it makes it pretty interesting. I
That was the night that Jonathan learned his lesson about provoking. He didn't go back in that jail, let alone that cell, until about 5 o'clock in the morning, and he went in and brought a cigarette to that cell and apologized and said, "I'm so sorry for the things that I said." So it got its point across.
that's sure sounds like it.
Hmm.
I've heard Jonathan know that story in person too, and you can tell it affected him. um,
Yeah,
Having an experience like that. Um,
yeah.
Now, Edenton was that place is great. Now, the first investigation, real investigation, that wasn't train tracks, because when we first um, got uh, together to investigate something, it was some haunted railroad tracks,
Yeah,
supposedly.
that's when, yeah, you and I first investigated together.
Yeah,
That
and that
was when
was
I was trying to reform Kappa after I moved to
yeah,
Florida. Yep.
and but the first investigation of a building we did was the Artisan Inn
Hmm.
in downtown DeLand, Florida. Now, I remember that night because I was like a giddy schoolgirl. I had not investigated quite like this before. I was excited. Um, and the building was supposed to have a lot of activity. Now, I don't know if the building is haunted. I think, we didn't have a crazy amount of experiences, but there's one that stands out to me from that night. There's a few rooms upstairs, and I was in room 7, and I was lying on the bed. Now, right next to me is room 6. The bedroom to room 6 shared that wall. And I thought, because I said, okay, I'm going to go to room 7. You guys were at command. Someone said they're going to room 6.
Hmm.
So I thought someone was in room 6. So I'm sitting there and I heard a few knocks. Could have been things settling. I wasn't sure. And all of a sudden I heard voices. It sounded like a darn TV was on. I mean, it was just someone having a conversation. So I'm like, man, they're investigating kind of loudly over there. I thought it was you guys. It was very loud, very distinct. And I remember walking, I went out the door to room 7, walked the few steps into 6. I was like, hello? And then nothing. I was like,
Hmm.
uh, okay, wait a minute. So I walked in the room a little bit more, looked around. No one's in there. I'm the only one. Now there is a caretaker who was on that top floor. Um, Mr. Tree Man. I call him
Yeah.
that because he was in outer space, I'm pretty sure. If you remember.
Yeah.
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 And this is and this is not to do anything be mean to the artisan. It's a gorgeous building. It's under new management. It has been for years. So
Yeah.
but eh, but it wasn't him. I could not hear a peep out of that room. So I go back down onto the second floor where we had our command set up, and everyone's still looking at the cameras. And I'm like, who the who the hell was in room 6? Like it was loud. It was like two people just having a right on conversation. And the recorder I had wasn't sensitive enough to pick it up. I know what I heard. It was quite loud, and I was thrilled. I don't think much else happened. Um,
No. I remember Kyle and I were in the dining room area, and Kyle heard, I don't remember if it was someone like a female laughing or a female crying
right.
near the
Yeah. Yep.
elevators.
Yep.
I didn't, but I remember him walking and asking if anybody was crying or laughing. I don't
Did
remember
anyone
which
just
one it
laugh
was.
10
Yeah,
seconds ago?
yeah,
20
and it was
seconds
nothing.
ago?
Right. And it was
Yeah. Yeah.
no one that we knew of. Um, and
Actually,
then
I'm pretty sure we got that on audio.
I think we did.
We did catch something on audio. Once again, you look back and you wish you had these things.
Yeah, I mean this is years and years ago.
Yeah.
The only thing I can remember is they had these ottomans in the
Yeah.
room,
Yeah.
and every one of us tripped over an ottoman.
We sure did. And the great part is we had a DVR camera set up right at that
Yeah,
ottoman, so we
yeah,
we all saw it, each other
yeah,
fall over it.
yeah.
That was fun. That was a fun investigation. We were all coworkers, pretty much, almost all of us. Part of when
Hmm.
Kappa is like a sitcom that's been rebooted a few times, with
Yeah,
a new cast. Now
yeah,
there's some that have stuck around, um, but the you know Kappa's at its strongest right now. I truly believe. But we had a good fun time back then.
yeah.
Um, and we had a lot of good experiences. The artisan being one of them. You know,
Hmm.
going to an abandoned house. I do not say go into abandoned houses. Don't trespass.
Yeah, no, no.
Obviously don't do that. Get permission. We have permission? We did not. But we were
I don't
young.
know.
We were young. Um, and I wouldn't do that now, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, don't, you know,
Disclaimer: don't go into abandoned houses.
yeah. And it's also dangerous.
Yeah, because you don't know who's in there or
You
what.
don't know who or what the conditions
There
of the
were a lot of
floors
spiders.
are. We got stuck downstairs because of a spider. So
Yeah, yeah. See, I don't
uh,
do spiders, and we were down in the basement area, and there was a spider on the wall, and I just could not go past it.
yeah, you'll scream it, not scream. We don't scream at any ghosts, any spirits. But we'll, you know,
Yeah, a ghost
um,
can push me, slap me, punch me, push me downstairs, whatever. I don't do spiders.
Yeah, he's not lying. And
Mm-mm.
I don't necessarily like him either. That the the Gilchrist County Jail, the old Gilchrist County
Yeah, that
Jail.
was
That was, and I'm pretty sure he's the man who runs it now. Uh, he's put a lot of work into it, and there's not many. It's probably not as many spiders, but it was bad when we went.
it
No,
was very bad.
that's a place. Now, because we're getting pretty long of an episode here, I'm going to stop with the stories because I want to do another because I still
Mm.
got more. I still got a lot more I could
Um,
say,
I,
you
I
know.
got a couple too.
So we'll save those for a later episode, and I definitely have some from the old Gilchrist jail that I remember that were pretty cool.
Yeah,
Um,
Gilchrist is fun.
it's a fun place. Um, I enjoy going there. I jails are fun. I don't. I always tell people I can't wait to go to jail, but they look at me like I'm crazy. That's not my problem.
Yeah.
Um, but I hope you everyone enjoyed those stories, and hopefully it'll come back for more. Um, we got a lot more where that came from, and hopefully we'll get some more as more investigations happen. Of course, February we're going to back to the battleship North Carolina, where a lot of the activity that you heard us talk about happened. So, hopefully we'll get more just from that investigation
Mhm.
alone. Hopefully, maybe not, but like I
And
said,
speaking of ghost stories, Corey, tell them when or where they can send their own stories to and get them read right here on the show.
sure, absolutely. You can go ahead and email us if you'd like at into the paranormal pod, pod at gmail.com. We'll talk about ghost stories on the air. Tell us we want to hear your stories. What made you interested in the paranormal like we are? Why you listen to us? We want to know. Also, you can reach out to us on the Into the Paranormal Podcast Facebook page as well. Um, and let us know your stories there as well, and we'll be happy to read them. And if we like your story, we'll get them on a podcast. We'll talk about that.
And follow the Kappa Facebook page. Like and follow facebook.com/Kappa Paranormal, or follow us, or do both. Why not do both? Follow us on Twitter at Kappa Paranormal. Uh, Email us at info@kappaparanormal.com. Visit www.kappaparanormal.com if you need any help, or if you want to submit an application to join the ever-growing Kappa family. All that and more can be found right there on our homepage.
Absolutely. And you can find links in the description box below here on YouTube. If you're on Spotify, you
It's
can't.
right down there, right in
It's
the show notes,
on Spotify.
on everywhere
Wow!
you listen to podcasts.
Look at that. Everywhere you get your podcast. See, I won't go into that, but absolutely. And if I would love you to like, share, and
Most places you get your podcast. Most places you get your podcast. If you're listening to this on a podcast app, it's there. And just click on the show notes and you
there
could
you go.
find all of our information,
Absolutely.
emails, websites, all the social links,
All the good
Corey's
stuff.
phone number,
Oh
everything,
yeah. Yeah, my personal email
and social.
and my social. Listen, if you want to take some of my debt off my hands, go ahead. It doesn't bother me. But no, we do appreciate the people who have listened, and we really enjoy doing this. And we
Tell
got
your
some.
friends,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Please tell your
like,
friends.
share, subscribe, share, share, share.
Smash the like button.
Oh no.
Yeah, you want cringe? There you go. But no,
Oh
seriously,
man.
to thank you to everybody for listening and supporting us. We have a great time doing this, and we got a lot of great things coming. We got a lot of fun subjects, and we have a guest coming that I think people are going to enjoy. So,
Yeah,
um,
always good talking to them.
Absolutely. So it'll be good. Everyone, I hope everyone has a great rest of their day, whenever you're watching this. Take care. Stay spooky as usual. And everyone, will see you next time here on the Into the Paranormal podcast. Take care.
Take care.